So how did Starla Moore go from zero to over $100,000 in online course sales in less than 1 year? We're going to find out right now on the Rise to the Top podcast. And welcome to the Rise to the Top podcast. It's your great and good friend, David McGarland. I hope all is well with you and yours. Got a success story today, and it is a good one. Starla Moore is going to be joining me here on the show. Now, Starla is one of my Create Awesome online courses customers. I had never met Starla before, but she posted this in the Create Awesome online courses Facebook group. She said, "Quick post from a quiet lurker. I've been building my course for nearly an entire year while creating a community and building an email list of potential customers. There were times I felt overwhelmed, that tech went wrong. I even bought noise-canceling headphones to block out my family while I focused on scripting my course. Month after month, I felt like I'd never get it finished with it all, and I'd be stuck trudging as a workaholic forever. I missed my child, my family, and my clean dishes. So much ugly eyeliner drippy crying took place. I may have ripped out all my hair if not for Renee Christine kicking my butt and keeping me motivated." Now, Renee, by the way, is one of our super successful Create Awesome online courses students. You can find her on a bunch of past episodes here of the Rise Up podcast. For those of you who are in the building stages of your course, stay the path and have confidence that the payoff will be immense. On June 1st, I officially launched my course after growing a dedicated raving fan base for a year through YouTube and a community Facebook group. At $997 per enrollment, including 6-month payment plans, we closed our spring enrollment period on June 10th with nearly 80 first-time students. We only anticipated about 15 to sign up. Morals of the story: stay the freaking path. Don't let things like dirty dishes distract you. Paper plates are your friend. The end isn't always as far as it feels. Trust me, people buy from people they like, so be someone they'll like. You don't have to be a genius to be a killer course creator. I'm 26 and have no formal education after high school. Stop your worrying and listen to David McGarland. Courses don't create themselves. Winky face. So I invited Starla on the show here to find out this entire story. And she did 70 grand with her launch. And now it's well over 100 grand about a year after she got started. So 0 to 6 figures now in a year. Now, was it all rainbows and sprinkles and sunshines and lollipops? No, but she's going to come on here and tell very candidly the entire story, including what her course is on, who her audience is, how she built her audience from scratch, her course creating journey, what she would do different next time, what she's doing next. We're going to dive into everything coming up right now. So without further ado, let's bring on Starla. Let's get at it. All right, my friends. So I am joined now by the one, the only, the Starla Moore. Hello, Starla. How are you?
I am absolutely awesome, David. How are you?
I am excited for this interview. I am super excited for this chat. And one of our mutual friends, Renee Christine, we were just talking about this, was singing your praises via text messages, saying, "I cannot wait for the Starla episode." So we have to deliver for her, right?
Blushing, of course. I love Renee.
And so first of all, where are you coming from today? Where are you coming from at us?
From where in the world?
Yes, where in the world is Starla Moore?
Well, currently Starla Moore is in Ohio.
Love it. So coming out from Ohio, so we have a full Midwestern interview going on here today based on location with Ohio and St. Louis. So, in the introduction, I kind of read through your amazing Facebook post where you share your success story, right? And there's a lot more to dive into, obviously, into this, but let's start at the very end before we go to the beginning. So let's talk about where you're at now. So really quickly, before we really dissect this and go all the way back to building an audience, all this kind of stuff, can you tell us really quickly, first of all, what's your course and who's it for? Let's start with that.
So my course, basically, I teach handmade artists how to build their own profitable businesses on Etsy, which, a lot of people think of Etsy and they think of it as just being some junk that, that you threw together, some popsicle stick artwork. But we have some of the most amazing artists in our course. And my course basically teaches you how to create that successful business from start to finish. And this isn't just an Etsy crash course, because there are thousands of those that you can get for, $10 on Udemy. What I teach is more of a shopper psychology course. And as far as I know, it is the only course of its kind that actually breaks down, psychology and the psychology of those shoppers. So it's pretty awesome. I absolutely love just kind of mixing marketing and the human brain, because it's not, I don't even so much say psychology as I say I incorporate neuroscience into the marketing world.
I love it. Okay, so really interesting topic. And so the people that would enroll in this course, the people that have enrolled in this course, who are they? Are they aspiring artists? Are they already artists? Are they're everywhere in between? Or who's kind of your ideal market?
So it's a combination of both. Ideally, the person, we start from the very beginning. So right when you have an idea to start a business, before you've even named it, we walk you through that process. But if you already have an established business, for example, one of our students, her name is Paula Haas. She is amazing. She owns a really successful shop called Clean and Dirty Skincare. She was already a six-figure business, or was almost a six-figure business when she went into my course. And of course, she just skyrocketed afterwards. So it really doesn't matter where you are in your business. Basically, our ideal customers just aren't happy with where they are, or they want to grow and expand, because what I teach is how to dominate the Etsy platform to basically be the authority figure of your niche out of all the competition in this massive saturated market. What I teach is how to be the number one, or in that top 10%.
Okay, very cool. Love it. So let's start with the data here, and then before we go to the beginning of the story. And you did your first launch was this, you called it spring enrollment, spring summer-ish, right? Which was June 10th. Tell us about how that went.
That was absolutely awesome. We actually started that as a, your kids are going back to school, you go back to school too type marketing pitch. And we actually launched our course at, right when we closed enrollments, and after we had, of course, there were a couple, refunds, but after everything was said and done, we launched at $70,000.
$70,000 up front. Now, by the way, just to get perspective on this, because this is what I love about this, is that people always assume when I talk about courses, that my first launch was like 17,000 zillion, gazillion, bajillion dollars, right? And it's funny because my first launch was $19,800, right? Your first launch, $70,000, which is unbelievable. That would put you in the top, 1-ish%. Now it's funny, even Renee Christine, right? Who's I know a friend and kind of mentor to you and one of our students as well, and now a partner that you guys are doing some cool stuff together. Her first launch was like $3,000. So $70,000 is freaking amazing. Now, since then, have you done any more launches, promotions, anything like that, or are you gearing up for anything?
Well, we did do a launch with Renee in August. We did a joint venture with her, and that launch brought in $90,000, which of course we split that right down the middle because she put so much work. She did like a photo shoot specifically for it and collaborated like this entire video series where we made these funny videos for YouTube. It was insane, but yeah, it was fantastic.
Now, I love this. And so you're you're into the six-figure range here in the first year of this, and this is incredible, or about a year, right? Is that from yes. scratch to where we're at about a year, and we're going to go back and talk about that. And what's interesting about this is that when Renee sent me a message about you, she was saying that what she loved is that she knew because you guys follow both the same system, Create Awesome Online Courses, not to toot my own horn here, but following the same system, is that she knew that you guys could work together because you guys understood everything in the same way, right? Which is a great way of doing it versus someone coming in from, say, the outside world, if you will, right?
Exactly. And that's what made it so seamless, because we both were on the same page, and it wasn't even like we needed to do any planning. We just already knew what to do.
Nice. And by the way, someone's going to ask me this, so I don't want to forget to ask this now before we go back in the story. I know I'm going to forget this, so I'm going to ask it right now. Is that a lot of people worry about this, is that, you and for those of you that are listening to this, you should know Renee if you listen to my show at all, ever. If you don't, go back. There's numerous Renee Christine episodes. We'll link them up in the show notes. But how do you differentiate, for example, between what you and Renee do? Now, I understand it, but just for people that might hear that, how are your courses different? And I think this is a good lesson in general, because a lot of people are worried about, stepping on toes and things like that.
So the most hilarious part about that is actually we have a swipe file for that exact question. We both do because we get it a lot too. So what Renee teaches is a handmade marketing course that can be spread across any platform. You can sell on Shopify. You can sell on your own website. She has her architect course, which teaches you how to build your own platform and your own, website so you can sell those handmade products. But for my course, we specifically do Etsy. We do the science of Etsy. Everything that we do is Etsy catered. So basically, you could not take my course and apply it to Shopify because right down to learning, the SEO and the search engine optimization, all that information would be useless if you sold anywhere else other than Etsy.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, and that's a good point. I think people get stuck on this sometimes in good ways and sometimes in bad ways when they're thinking about creating a course is they say, well, someone else has a course on this topic or someone else that I know. And what's interesting is that you did something smart, whether it was on purpose or not, right? Was the idea here is like, okay, well, here's some other courses, but I can go at a different level. I can go at a different angle or a different approach or something unique. And now check it out. Instead of having Renee as an evil enemy, not that she would be.
Right.
but I'm saying not that you would have, I'm saying you now have a collaboration opportunity. And for me, that as I hear that makes me happy because it makes me seem like, okay, you took something and you said, you know what, here's something that's slightly different. Here's how it is. Here's how it's different. Now, instead of an enemy, I've got a friend.
Exactly. And I mean, Renee told me to, like, this wasn't a weird thing where I just did it. She was like, oh, yeah, I think that she saw it like, wow, this is an amazing opportunity for us to build something really cool that will work like two puzzle pieces that fit together. And that's exactly what happens.
I love it. And it's, it's that old formula of like what is it? 1 + 1 = 3 or I don't know, whatever it is. Right. So I love that. So let's go all the way back. Now that we kind of know, all right, we've got this 6-figure and our time frame from when you started your teaching business, let's just call that. When did you actually start that? So started building your list and starting doing those things seriously.
So my first webinar was actually 1 year ago today, and I didn't have a very big list. We decided to do a completely free webinar, no pitch. It was basically a way for me to begin building my email list while answering a lot of the common questions that we received around the holidays, because I did have a YouTube channel. I believe I had around 1,000 subscribers this time last year, and currently I have 7,600 people on my email list. So it's not a huge list. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, it is a huge list, but compared to Renee, it feels very small. But
everyone could say that about Renee. So, but I get. I mean, well, this is really interesting to me because I like to go back in this and really kind of dig deep in where this all started. So for you, I mean, so your time frame, and we're doing now 6 figures. I mean, and it's funny, people. I mean, that's first of all, I mean, congratulations. That's just unbelievable, and the sky's the limit for it. But let's go back. I know it's not the straightest path. I know that there's challenges along the way. It's not like you hit one button a year ago and then hit another button a year later and then you said the 6 figures, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes on, but let's go all the way back to that year, a year ago, right? Before we even start getting into kind of strategies and tactics and how you did all that, what was your kind of why? What were you doing at the time? Why did you decide you want to create specifically a course? Because anyone that's been successful, they can answer this question one way or another, because it's fascinating to me because you know what? You are going to face challenges. You are going to face issues. The dog's going to eat your homework. Do you know what I mean? Or the baby's going to run away with the computer or God knows what. You're going to be on a #1 webinar and the internet's going to crash, right? Everything's going to happen. So you have to have that strong base and that strong why. What was yours? And especially looking back there, what got you excited about this and what got you going?
So let's go ahead and back the train up like way, way, way far. We're going to
go all the way. Let's go to birth. It's fine.
Yeah, it's going to go back all the way to 2012 when I started my first business. I was only 19 years old. I'm only 26 now, so it wasn't that long ago. I had just given birth to my daughter. We were stationed 3,000 miles away from our home and family in Ohio, and my husband was in the military. And I had this jewelry business on Etsy that was selling okay, but it wasn't doing great. It wasn't like a sustainable income. So long story short, I joined Renee's. At that time, it wasn't HTU. It was actually Rich Mom University. And this was before she was like a DSG superstar. Like the distance or the difference between her course then and now was just night and day. Renee has just come so tremendously far. But anyway, I joined her course. My business on Etsy just absolutely exploded. I became the highest rated skeleton key artist on Etsy, which, believe it or not, there are a lot of us.
Wow.
And
the more you know, I'm always fascinated when I find out about little niches and little things. It just shows you there's so many things out there in the world. Unbelievable.
yeah, it was crazy. And that business did fantastic. Everyone started asking me like, how are you doing this? Because a lot of the things that I was doing in my Etsy shop weren't things that Renee covered. It was things that I was doing like on side studies. And then around that time, my husband, who was in the military, started experiencing some major health problems. He got degenerative disc disease. He has seborrheic dermatitis, which covers his entire face, and he has PTSD. So around that time, it was getting to the point where he wasn't able to do PT. He wasn't able to go out and run in the morning. And he basically told me that if I were able to get my Etsy shop to a sustainable income, we could move back home to Ohio. And some of my family members had never even met my daughter, who was 4 years old at the time.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
we just wanted to go home. We hated California, nothing against Californians, but it wasn't for us. It wasn't home to us. So basically I worked nonstop. I worked for an entire year. I sat at my computer desk, just eyeliner dripping down my face, some nights sitting up all night. But in January of 2015, we actually did make enough money to move home. He didn't have to re-enlist in the military. And right about that time, I would say it was that spring. So 2016, I messaged Renee about Create Awesome Online Courses because I didn't want to step on her toes, but I knew that I had some really cool, valuable stuff that I had learned in that year of having to make that money, to move home. I had a lot of really cool things that I had learned, and I wanted to express that in a course. And just the immense amount of support that she gave me. I mean, there were nights that I would message her just freaking out saying, I am sitting here. It is 3:00 in the morning. My daughter, didn't see me at all today. I feel so terrible. I'm putting so much work into this. Sometimes I just needed her to slap me in the face, but she's the whole reason that I'm here. And that's basically how the course started and my why. I had to save my husband from himself.
I mean, that's an insanely powerful why. I mean, people sit there, they're going to listen to this and it's incredibly powerful. I mean, that was a back against the wall type situation that you made happen. And, and that's it. And that's interesting. I mean, I would have never known that. I mean, people, it's funny. I started asking this question on podcasts, I think, this year when I brought back my show. And boy, I wish I asked it a long time ago when I used to do little video interviews and things like that, because you can really get to what motivates people. And that's the thing that I want to get to, is that when people are motivated by the right things, and I know that you have a very personal and intense one there, right? But whatever the motivation is, that's what keeps you going. Now, I'm curious too on the course. So you built the business up. You realize you've got this expertise that you want to share now. And you saw, what Renee is doing. You saw what other people are doing. And I'm curious for you, what specifically attracted you to online courses, right? Because we could look at that and we could say, all right, well, Starla, you could coach. Starla, you could do a membership site. Starla, you could be a speaker traveling around and doing whatever. You could do all these, there's all these different business models, for lack of a better term, selling your expertise or teaching people to do something, right? Obviously, I'm biased, love online courses, but I'm curious, what for you personally was like, okay, this is what I want to focus on?
Well, I mean, I had people messaging me about my Etsy shop ever since I joined Renee's course. People saw what I was doing there and the weird abstract ways that I was kind of shaping my own business. And it was constant questions. And, I could have helped a few people by traveling. I could have maybe filled, a small room of people, but the ability to put it all into a course, make it all ahead of time, and then it just be finished. I mean, we've only done one update since opening our course this summer, one tiny update. It's just finished. It's done. That ease is so fantastic. And it opens the door for me to be able to do some of the things that you mentioned, like traveling. I actually have my first public speaking event in October, but I don't have to worry about, I'm not even charging for that. I'm just going for free.
Right. It's not do or die. It's not your business, if you will. Right.
Right. And I don't have to call off work or anything crazy to do that. I mean, my husband and I both stay home full time now just doing this. So just the freedom is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I love it. You know what I always like too about courses, and this was something that I always find fascinating compared to all the other things you could do as well. Obviously, you have the infinite scalability, right? Because you can, again, be home in your pajamas or, be traveling around, do whatever you want, right? The other thing that I like to me is that, if you're really going to learn something, like if you're really going to teach something, the best way to do it is an online course or say one-on-one coaching. Right? That's the best way. If someone's going to learn something. Now, the problem is, of course, one-on-one coaching is a time suck and while it can be great, and a lot of people start that way, there's not a lot of scalability. There's, in fact, no scalability there, right? How many people can you possibly coach in a day or a week or a month or a year, right? But if you look at it, if you actually want to teach someone to do something and someone to learn, online courses is the gold standard for that, because it's not just a course, there's also support and things like that as well. And so that's a great reason why. So you had the strong why, you had the credibility and the success. You came up with the course idea. Where did you find customers? Because I'm curious about what was your kind of list building strategy, your audience building strategy. Where did you find these folks? Let's start with that.
Well, I started on YouTube, and before I even joined Renee's course, I had actually made a few YouTube videos just kind of putting myself out there about my Etsy shop and just how to size photos, how to edit photos, just really simple things. And then I joined Renee's course, and that almost intimidated me to stop making my own, YouTube videos, because I was learning so much from her. And I almost didn't want to accidentally spill something like publicly that I learned from her. So I said, I better just stop with the YouTube videos. But then after I started considering making a course, ultimately the reason that I started the YouTube channel was to build up my vocal cords, because I remember I tried to stream live in my Etsy Facebook group, which, oh man, it is like a wolf's den. My Etsy customers are absolutely bonkers. I love them. But I tried to stream live in my Facebook group, and I realized that I lost my voice really, really fast. So I started kind of just playing with some of my software and making, just videos here and there about, for example, my most popular YouTube series was how to make your photos look professional for Etsy. But it was just kind of throwing myself out there, getting the practice, building my email list. Also down in the description below, you can get my free ebook by subscribing to my email list, yada, yada. And what ended up happening was our following grew so insanely fast. I mean, it hasn't even, let's see, it's been almost a year. No, it's been a year. It's been about a year and a month, I would say. And we just hit 9,000 subscribers. So, I mean, I hear from many other major YouTubers that is an awesome accomplishment, for this small period of time. So that's really where we started building. And I think, we tried to give a lot of upfront value. I like to say that 90% of the content that we provide is, free content, but of course it's general. And if you want to really, really perfect some of the things that we teach publicly, join the Handmade Alpha Academy, because we go more in depth. We go into the psychology of not just how it works, but why it works. So I think that is how we got our start, was just providing a lot of value to the general public. And our Facebook group now, we have two, one just for students, but we also have a public one. And it's one of Etsy's most popular Facebook groups. We have almost 6,000 members in that group alone. And we do not allow advertising. Most of the time when you see popular Etsy groups, they're just like, oh, buy my products, buy my products. We don't allow any of that. It's just constant conversation and engagement.
Love it. So let's dissect this for a little bit. So you would say that at least over that year, that the number one traffic strategy for you would be YouTube.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. And what you did, and this is critical, and I want people to make sure they understand this when they're listening to this too, is that you were already strategic in what you were doing because you were giving away something free for people to join then your email list, right? So like you said, you were giving away what? Was it always an ebook or was there anything else you gave away on there?
The ebook is actually the first major thing that I created. Like right when I decided I was going to do the YouTube channel and make the course, I immediately said, what's something valuable that I know that I can put in a quick ebook that they can download? And I made that ebook. It's been the exact same one. I haven't edited it at all, since I made it a year ago, and people still almost every day sign up to get this ebook.
I love it. So you got the strategic plan there. Now, in terms of, and this is always interesting to find out. I want to see how kind of strategic and versus throwing spaghetti, because we're all different. Do you know what I mean? How we do things depending on what's going on. With YouTube over that year, did you have kind of a consistent posting schedule? Did you just kind of post when you wanted? How did you kind of approach that strategy? Just curious.
Well, I tried to start by posting 2 videos a week. Actually recording, editing. I tried to make them kind of funny and overly engaging. And, I realized that wasn't even necessary. I think I was trying to compensate a little bit for my own personality, making them funny. And later on, we decided that we were going to go ahead and just stream live every Friday and do like Q&A sessions. And after a while, we kind of ran out of questions. There's only so many ways that you can answer the same question over and over again. So instead, we started actually, rather than just doing a consistent upload schedule, we now stream every Friday, but with a topic. So it's almost like having a mini training. We do an entire topic around, for example, right now we're doing a holiday series, how to prep your shop for the holidays. We just had a major Anthony Wolf. He owns one of Etsy's biggest SEO tools. We interviewed him, did an entire breakdown, and then at the end, he answered questions. So we try to keep them very topic focused. So yes, to answer your question, we do have a very consistent upload schedule, and people get mad on Fridays. If our kid has something at her school and we can't be there on a Friday, we usually still have people show up because they expect us.
I love it. And by the way, the Facebook group, and that makes sense. What the worst thing you would want is like you don't do one and then no one says anything. That'd be very sad, right? So the Facebook group too, did that kind of then come after as you were getting some traction on YouTube? How did you go about the Facebook group, the free one?
I actually made that Facebook group immediately when I decided. I did everything just ahead of time. I had a complete marketing mindset when I set all of this up because I knew what my ultimate goal was going to be. So I set up the Facebook group and I just started putting it down in all of my video descriptions and, shouting it out in my videos. If you guys want to hang out with me, if you guys want to chat with me, if you need personal help, join my Facebook group, tag me. We have a lot of other, and I added all my Etsy friends who were doing well on Etsy too to help me, hey, help me answer questions. So, and even now we have 2 admins. They are absolutely fantastic. And they're just in there, they are not paid admins. They just hang out in there because it's our free group and they absolutely love the community.
I love it. So the Facebook group's been obviously a huge thing for you too. Now let's talk. Well, by the way, we're gonna dissect the whole course and the process and everything you went through, and I love that part. That's kind of like our second part. If this was like the marketing background part, then we're getting into the nitty gritty of the course. But let me ask you this question because I get this question all the time. I would love to hear your answer to this too. Okay, on YouTube, you are giving away tremendous tips, tremendous advice, awesome, cool stuff. Right? People have this fear that if they give these things away, they give these tips and they give these advice, no one's going to join their course. What would you say to that, and how do you deal with that?
It's like the exact opposite, man. It is the exact opposite. What we found was that we built that credibility ahead of time, and people, as opposed, I can understand what you're saying. And I kind of felt that fear initially too, where I thought, okay, everybody's going to think, that I'm just repackaging the same content, making it look pretty, putting it in a slide form and selling it. But what ended up happening was our viewers ended up saying, wow, if she's giving this much away for free, I can't, I wonder what's in the course, what's in the paid course, So it actually had the opposite effect. People, built that trust around us from an, way early on when we started actually streaming and interacting and calling people out by name and building value and giving away freebies and keeping up with all of Etsy's weird changes and updates. We were their source for news. We were their source for
and
nudes.
Nudes too. That's a whole
and nudes. We were their source for nudes. Of course, ramen noodles, not any of that nasty stuff. Yeah, we were their major news source anytime Etsy had a change. And because they knew that they could count on us for that information, they started relying on us more than they did even like Etsy's newsletters. They weren't waiting for Etsy to send out a newsletter by email. They were waiting for us to restate the exact same material in a way that they could understand it. So
I love it. I mean, this is, and I asked the leading question there because I knew you were going to say something. I didn't know exactly what you were going to say there, but this drives me freaking crazy. It's going to drive me to do God knows what, is that people worry about this and all the time where they're saying, I don't want to give away stuff free. People are not going to buy. And it literally is the opposite effect. It is the complete mindset shift. If you shift, because what you ended up doing there, Starla, is you became a trusted resource. Right? And when you're a trusted resource, then people will, buy to go to the next step or do whatever that might be. What drives me crazy is people that refuse to teach anything or share any tips for free. What you see all the time sometimes too is like people like, I'm going to get to you the one tip, but they never get to it. Right? People want to learn, and that's exactly right. It will not affect your sale. It helps you. It helps create the relationships. There is no negative effect to it. It's funny. I've yet to see it where someone says, I was going to make all these great sales. I've been sharing all this great free content, but everyone's like, oh, your free content was so good. I don't want to buy anything. It doesn't happen. It's just one of those things. And I get why people think that, by the way. I'm not, if you think that, you're not alone, people that are listening to this, right? It's just, you got to realize that Starla is just a living, breathing example that I am as well. And we've got thousands of others where they're constantly sharing tips and advice. But hey, you want to take the next step and learn the entire system? Boom. Here you go. Right? So let's talk course. We've gotten here. We've talked about a lot of things. We haven't really even talked about the course or the process of the course. So you launched, and it says here, I just got my date right in front of me. Your first launch here was in June this year. Now, a couple questions leading up to that. That date on the calendar for you, was it just arbitrary? Was it, were you waiting for a certain amount of subscribers? Was what kind of got you ready to go at that exact point?
Well, we had actually JV'd with Renee to kind of get in the swing of how we were going to market things. And we JV'd with Renee before my course even opened.
Oh, so meaning you promoted her course?
Yes.
Yes. Meaning you promoted one of her courses before your course?
Yes, we actually promoted for her first because we already had a following and we had a very loyal following. And it was just kind of one of those, hey, I've personally taken this course. I really love it. I think you guys are going to love it too. And that did really, really well. So basically what ended up happening was that money started drying up from our JV. And we didn't, the course wasn't even really ready yet, but I really, really crunched. I was so stressed that last 2 weeks, I swear I was working until the very last minute. And I think that I actually finished the course the day before we opened it.
Gotta love, hey, listen, better late than never. Now question on that too. So I, in Create Awesome Online Courses, recommend pre-recording, as you know. So what I mean by that, and for those that are listening that are like, what the heck am I talking about? What I recommend is I prefer the method of recording your course first, then selling it. Now, it could be simultaneous, but I'm saying that versus creating it as you go, if you will. Like meaning saying, hey, here's enrollment, it's opening on this date. Can you do it the other way? Absolutely. Pat Flynn's done it that way. I've got other people in Create Awesome Online Courses that prefer to do it that way as well. But Starla, for you did pre-record. Is that correct? Even though it was up to the day before. And why? And I know that was in the system, but did you like that approach versus trying to do it like, hey, everyone's got to enroll by June 10th and the first module is going to be out next week or something like that?
Man, I had so many emails when I first started promoting the course asking me if it was like, oh, do I have to unlock each module as I go? Questions like that. And I wouldn't have had nearly as many signups if I would have, drip fed out those lessons. Not to mention, I'm a mom of a 6-year-old. I can't even hold myself accountable to make sure that those dates, if I said, hey, this will be released on this date and I wasn't able to make that deadline. I mean, come on, I was barely able to make this podcast this morning because I got on an hour early and thought I missed it. So
yes, I got a frantic email from Starla this morning saying, wait, is it East? Oh no, I think I'm an hour early. Did I miss it? I'm like, no, you're good. You are 40 minutes early, Starla. So just hang out. We'll be there soon.
Anybody can do this, guys. I promise you. Anybody can make a course.
You don't even need to have time zones nailed.
Normally I do. I don't know what was wrong with me this morning.
All good. I love it. But yeah, I mean, that was, so you pre-recorded. Yes, that would probably, and also it is a marketing strategy. Let's talk about that. I mean, that's true. Meaning, and I've pointed this out before, but when you pre-record, you're allowed, we're in a Netflix culture now. This is Netflix binging culture. That's what we're in. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm currently watching Boardwalk Empire. I've never watched it before on HBO, and I'm so into it that I can barely get my work done, which is a whole nother story. That's a different problem. But I'm saying that I love that I don't have to wait for it. I can go to the next one. I can go at my own pace. I can watch 6 in a day if I want, which would not be recommended, or I could watch one every other week, right? That's my choice. And when you give people everything, you know, a lot of people worry that's going to overwhelm people, whatever it might be. We've actually seen the opposite effect. We see that then people are like, oh, well, I can go at my own pace. And also maybe someone that wouldn't sign up will sign up because they say, oh, you know what? I can get going on this right now. I can go crazy tonight if I want to. Awesome. And you're not going to lose that early kind of buyer's remorse or momentum, if you will, meaning as they get into the course. That's one of the reasons for it. You know?
Right. Not to mention they click when they first log in to your course and they go into your modules and they see how many there are ahead of time and they can actually scroll through that content. I mean, for me, one of the first things that I do when I pick up a new book is I scroll to the very last page and I read the last page to decide if I'm going to read the entire book. And I feel like
That's funny.
Courses are
I like that.
I think that courses are very much the same. I do the exact same thing as I scroll to the very last module of any course that I take. And I kind of just snope it out because I want to see if that first module matches up in, you know, the amount of content, the video time. I like to see if everything is congruent. That way I know, like, right then and there, did I just waste my money? Or, you know, I don't like there to be any secrets. And I know that most people feel the exact same way.
I love it. And now one more question on the recording side of it. How long did it take you to record?
Oh, man. Oh, man. So I started recording about this time last year and ended up scrapping all of the videos that I started with because I started recording with Powtoon for my slides, which that is
I don't even know what the heck that is.
Oh, man. It's like Prezi on crack. Like
okay.
You get animations, you get all these cool little moving characters. Loved it. But when I decided to go back and start working on my course again after a short break, I noticed that they actually jacked the prices up on me. So I ended up having to cancel that membership, move to Prezi, remake everything. So it actually took me way longer than it should have because I took so many breaks. I procrastinated. I said, you know, I've got plenty of time to do this. And then I ended up crunching until the last minute. But I would say that since I have about 1,000 hours worth of content in my course, it took me about 6 months to get the entire thing recorded and edited because I did all that myself. You know, I don't have any employees right now.
Nice. Now, here's a question too. Now, and this, I was like, this is like a grocery store analogy, right? So if you sent me to a grocery store and I've never been there before and you tell me 6 items to get, it's going to take me like 3 hours because I can never go through those freaking grocery stores. I'm going to get lost. Where's the milk? I can't find anything. I don't know where anything is. I get lost, confused, and I walk in a circle. Okay. But if you ask me then to go back to that same store after I've been there a couple times, I can go in and out in like 2 minutes. Right. And it's the same exact thing when it comes to courses or modules or things like that. Like, meaning, for example, if I said, okay, Starla, now with that experience, it took you 6 months, you were procrastinating, you were doing this or that, you switched from Prezi to this and blah, 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 right? And I said, you're going to do the exact same thing again right now. And how long would it take you?
Oh, man, I think that I could get another. If I like really, really busted butt, which I'm about to begin working on my second course, I think I could probably do it in 3 months time. You know, if I was editing everything by myself. Right now, I'm to the point where I could just hire somebody to do all that for me. So, but if I were to actually do everything the exact same way again, I would say it would only take me about 3 months, you know, including building the website.
50% less time. right? Now add in some outsourcing, some other things like that. We're down to probably a month. Do you know what I mean? I mean, really, you could do it that way. So I think, my point is that's a realistic story that it took you a long period of time, but I also don't want to scare people to think, oh my God, like this or that. But look at this. I mean, you're building this for the long-term success. Do you know what I mean? What is 6 months in the long scheme of things? If I told you tomorrow, I said, listen, Starla, I'm going to need you to work on something for 6 months. Then you're going to do about 175,000 in sales. How does that sound? You're going to be like, yeah, I think I'll sign up. Right. And so another thing on your course too, you priced it, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, $997, right? Also doing a payment plan as well. But curious on this, because this is a very common question, $997, that was your price point. How did you come up with that?
Well, I mean, I had to position my course beside Renee's, because ultimately we don't want to seem like we're competing with each other, and we execute the same amount of content and value, but different types of content and value. So I wanted to make sure that we were executing exactly the same way. We were kind of congruent there. And if I would have offered that course for any less, everyone would wonder why mine's cheaper. And I don't think that they would have seen it as, oh, like hers is the better course and it's cheaper. What they would have said is,
what's wrong with it?
Yeah, what's wrong with it? Why is it so cheap? And I didn't want anybody to favor me for being cheaper. I didn't want to do that to Renee, but I also didn't want people to think, wow, Renee must have more content because hers is this price. I didn't want it to come down to the content or the amount of work, because obviously Renee is the reason that I'm here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So basically what you did there is you used kind of her basis as an anchor. Right. And just said, okay, well, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Right. And so, and that makes perfect sense. You don't want to be like undercutting by $100 or something like that. And also for you, with your course, and now that you've got these students in, you're taking care, is there anything that's been surprising or anything that's just been like really cool or even frustrating, or like what's been kind of now your experience that you have these students in, you've got all these things going on right now? Anything that's really interesting or cool that you want to share that's now happened to you?
Well, the marketing has gotten tremendously easier, because obviously when you start out, you've got your few people who just want to get in because it's like this new thing. We actually opened a few days early to like an exclusive, very small amount. We told them, hey, you get to take the course and you get to provide feedback. So it was almost like that was a bonus to them, that they got in early and got to provide feedback, but they still got like the 30-day money back guarantee. And we used their testimonials to kind of kick off, because we knew that our big launch wouldn't be successful without having some good, solid testimonials in there. So what really surprised me was, starting right out the door, I didn't think anybody was going to sign up. I didn't think that I had enough credibility. I felt like I was, a liability to a lot of people simply because my course was so new. No one knew what was inside of it. And even those people who got in early didn't have enough time to really, nobody was going to take my course 10 days early and have six figures by the time I opened to the public. You know what I mean? So I didn't really have any testimonials to really flaunt.
Which is very common, meaning a lot of people think they need to have like 300 testimonials. I'm like, well, you don't even have a course yet, right? So it's a lot of times it starts with your story. Right. And then, of course, it can evolve over time and become even more powerful when it's, hey, this is what I did and these are my results. And by the way, this is what Tom, Sally, and Susie did, and this is their results. Well, that comes a lot of times later on.
Right. And I think that what really gets them in the door when you don't have those testimonials is being public and giving them a reason to trust you in the first place. Because if you just launch your course, you have no public presence, you haven't shown your face, they only know you through a couple emails that you've sent them. I just don't feel like, even if you're just putting a picture of your face in your emails, just so they get to see you. Otherwise, there is nothing to really go off of. There's no trust there. So I think that building that trust ahead of time, and the longer that you can do that, that's fantastic. I know a lot of people don't have that extra year like I did to make the YouTube channel and do all of the YouTube videos on top of designing the course. Like, I get that some people need to get it done faster, but there should be a way to build that presence as well, even if it's just creating a public Facebook group that is kind of around your topic, but not necessarily around your course.
Which might be one of the same, but you're saying it might be like slightly broader, if you will, than your course or something like that.
Be the authority of something,
Right. Like, so for example, if I was going to do, really anything, you could choose any topic. I saw someone the other day in the Create Awesome Online Courses Facebook group. I don't know if you caught this, Starla, but we have a guy who's a bull rider.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And he's teaching bull riding. And he does this in person. He does in-person workshops and cool stuff. And people travel from all over the country to ride bulls with him.
That's
okay.
hilarious.
And he's turning this now into an online course, right? And what's interesting about that, like, that's a perfect example. If I was him, right, and I wanted to do a Facebook group, that's a no-brainer. It's a bull riding Facebook group. It's right there. Do you know what I mean? Like, there really should be, on any topic for a course, there's probably an opportunity for a Facebook group, quite frankly. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's fly fishing or bull riding or, doing backflips.
Yeah. And he doesn't even, if we were using him as an example, he wouldn't even need to share the secrets of bull riding. He could talk about the best clothing to wear while riding bulls,
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of opportunity there for content. And that leads me to this question, Starla, as we just have a few more minutes left here too, and this is just great stuff, is that's one of the things that people really struggle with, I think more than anything, is that building that loyal following, right? And here's why. Courses, there's a formula. As you know, right? There is a formula and a system for courses. I could teach it to anyone. You could sit down. You could take Create Awesome Online Courses. It's step 1, it's step 2, it's step 3, right? Like, there's exact system to do that, right? There's also systems for traffic, right? But that are a little bit different, meaning, every approach for traffic and building an email list and building a following is a little bit different, right? Like, meaning depending on your time, your budget, your personality, where your audience is, there's a lot of different factors there. But an overall kind of X factor thing is really building that loyal following, right? And that is something that is almost like an elusive elixir to certain people. And some people either have it or they don't. Right? And to a certain degree. And it is something that can be taught. It is something that can be trained. And there are strategies that go along with it. But I'm curious from your perspective, because you've done this very, very well over a year plus. And I'm curious, what would you say to someone if someone was sitting there and just said, listen, I want to build a loyal following around bull riding. I want to build a loyal following around fly fishing. I want to build a loyal following around, teaching people how to jump higher. I don't know, whatever it might be. What advice would you give that person?
Well, first of all, I would say that keep in mind, nobody's born charismatic. I think that that's a common misconception is people automatically think that, those who are able to put themselves out there and really talk about, talking live and having that presence, that some people are just born for it. And that's absolutely not the case. I'm a little bit jittery this morning, so I'm not the perfect example. However, I think that over time, what's happened is I've really put into practice putting myself out there by creating the YouTube channel and, just taking any opportunity that I can, doing new things. Even this public speaking event that I was invited to in October, I have never done public speaking in my life, not since high school. I didn't go to college. So I've never really had an opportunity to stand up in a large group of people, but I did it because it pushes me outside my comfort zone. And I know that this is going to help me in the long run. So my first tip is to just put yourself out there. Start trying to engage with people. Make a Facebook live video, just on your normal profile, just to get into the practice. I actually took a non-DSG course, which, oh man, I can't even, I don't like criticizing other courses, but I get so critical when I take one that wasn't like DSG, structured, because they're just so all over the place. But I ended up taking a course on charisma just so I could kind of work on myself. I've been reading books, to make sure that I'm able to have that presence. So practice putting yourself out there is my first major tip. And my second tip is to make sure that you're actually building value. Don't just, I always have people say, I don't know what to put in my email newsletters. Well, if you don't have anything valuable to email them about, don't email them. That you need to make sure that you're giving content that they're going to look at and say, wow, I'm glad that I received that. Otherwise, they're going to be conditioned not to pay attention to your content at all. That's the thing about the human brain. We are so conditioned to skip over things that are not relevant to us. It's exactly why we can go on a, 6-hour road trip and not remember any bit of scenery. However, if you were to go on that 6-hour road trip and you saw a hilarious billboard with, I don't know, your favorite actress on it, you would remember that billboard out of the 6-hour road trip because that was the one thing that stood out to you. So you can ultimately provide the content that sticks out above all other content that's being published out there. Just make sure that it's something that that person is actually going to use.
I love it. And if I were to add one more thing too, and this is just from my perspective too, is, you also want to be over time strategic. It might start out spaghetti at the wall a little bit, sharing content, different platforms, trying to figure it out, right? Once you start to get some traction, and Starla, that could be on anything. It could be YouTube, it could be Instagram, it could be podcasting, it could be all these different things, right? We have all these cool mediums that are out there nowadays, right? Is that you want to end up then being intentional like Starla did and said, okay, you know what? Now I'm going to move people from this platform, and I'm also going to now start growing an email list and grow a relationship with them. Hey, I'm giving away my ebook in your case. Right. And that's one of the key things I also want to make sure people understand that is that over time, that's what you're going to do. You're going to evolve that. You're going to involve those relationships and eventually, of course, lead to a sale and a long-term business. So Starla, this has been absolutely epic. I just have a couple more things on the way out here. Number one, what's next for you? Where are you putting your focus? Where are you putting your effort now?
Well, I am creating another course by popular demand. I have a lot of my handmade alphas who don't make replicatable product lines. They can't take one product and make it over and over again. They do more one-of-a-kind products, and my course isn't catered to that. So what I'm going to be creating is a course specifically catered to my one-of-a-kind students. I don't have a date on that because we're still I'm basically just kind of writing things down as I think of them, haven't structured any of it. I'm basically just making a map right now. And that is my next big leap. We also are going to be opening our course for the second time publicly in December. So I'm already gearing up all of my marketing for that.
Fantastic. Well, I love it. Starla, any links that we could share with anyone? Where can people find out more about you, check out everything? Maybe we've got some, Etsy folk or just people that are curious. Where can people check you out?
So everything that you would want to find about my course itself is located directly at handmadealphaacademy.com. That's my landing page. That links to everything. It links to my ebook. You guys can kind of see how I actually, I've got a pop-up box that, pops up if anyone wants to see how I create that funnel. I've got my YouTube channel linked there. I have my Facebook group linked there if anybody wants to check out those links. I have student testimonials there. That is my billboard. And my Etsy shop is Art by Starla Moore. So if we have any Etsy fans out there who enjoy shopping on Etsy and you want to check that out, please, you're not obligated to buy from me, but if you would like to see what I do, you can find me there.
Love it. So we will link those all up in the show notes. I want to thank you so much, Starla. This was a fantastic conversation. I actually texted Lindsay, our operations manager, as you know, during this, and I said Starla, and then I had an equal sign, and then I had I don't know how do you describe it? Heart face? I don't know. Heart face? I was like heart face, heart face, heart face, heart face, heart face. So thank you so much. I am, this is just a great story, and I'm very just excited that you were able to come on here, share it. And thank you so much for just your open and your honesty, and wish you nothing but the best of luck moving forward with everything as you continue to grow this business and keep doing great work. And you've got the strong why, you've got everything going for you, and just good luck with everything.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for being so understanding this morning when I messaged you in a dead panic.
Love it. Love it. Anytime. You can mess up time zones on me anytime. Thanks, Starla.
Awesome. Bye.
And that wraps it up, my friends, here with Starla Moore. Boy, that was just a fascinating conversation. I really enjoyed talking to her. Not only do I love hearing student success stories, but just these are real people. These are real people out there, with real fears and real problems, real challenges and real ambition and real skills that they want to get out there. And it's just great. I love hearing these stories. And I hope that this inspired, even if it just inspires one more person to be the next Starla, we've done a good job here, my friends. So the links were all mentioned here. They're going to be in the show notes as well on therisetotop.com. A couple things on the way out. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, therisetontop.com/subscribe. Brand new episodes every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central. And also, if you are ready to start your course creating journey, and a great place to get started with Create Awesome Online Courses is actually my 100% free training called 7 Steps to Creating, Promoting, and Profiting from Online Courses. It's a great primer to get you going with this, to help you be the next Starla or the next Renee, but in your own special way with your own unique skills and talents. Go to createawesomeonlinecourses.com. You can sign up for that free training, absolutely free. Get started with that. That's a great place to get going. All right, my friends, I will see you next time. This has been David Site McGarland here on the Rise to Top podcast. And remember, if you want some fluff, you know what to do. Go pet a bunny.